Thank you for coming to Refresh Austin, our first meeting of 2014. I'm very excited. I feel like it was just yesterday that I was just wrapping up 2013 speakers, and now I have to start that all over again. And I'm very much looking forward to that. So part of the reason why we're here today, we're having awesome demos from MakerSquare. Woo! If you're not familiar with who MakerSquare is an awesome school, company, startup that teaches people how to code in 10 weeks. So you can learn things from Ruby and Rails to front-end design and development. They're awesome. They're churning out awesome students, and we're going to get to see some of their work today. So if you're looking for good talent, you're in the right place today. So that's what we're going to be doing for the first half of the evening. And then after that, we're going to take some time to do something that we like to call the state of refresh. And this is just a time that we like to take to do a little bit of a retrospective. We tell you a little bit about our year, some of our highs, some of our lows, although really there weren't any lows. Just kidding. And then we're going to hear from you. What topics do you want to hear? Are there any particular speakers that you would like to hear from? Is there anything that you want to learn? What do you want to see this year at Refresh? And I can guarantee you 100% that every topic that someone suggested last year, I went out there and I found a speaker for that. So if you have any ideas on anything that you want to hear this year, let us know, because I will make that happen. So we'd like to kick things off by doing our regular, I'm looking for work / I'm looking to hire someone. So if you're a company and you're looking to hire some talent, developers, designers, copywriters, whatever that may be, get on up here and let us know what you need. If you're a freelance designer or developer and you're looking for new clients, or if you are someone that's looking for a full-time job, whatever it is that you're looking for, come on up here and let us know. This is a good time to try to maybe do a little bit of networking, connecting, and seeing what people are looking for. So I'm gonna start. I work for a company called 4 Kitchens. We're a web development shop that specializes in working with open source software. We do a lot of development using CMS platforms that are open source, like Drupal or WordPress. We're looking for developers. If you're a little bit of front end, a little bit of back end, we can work with that. So if you have experience working with open source, we would very much like to talk to you. Anybody else?
Good evening. I'm Jan Esconza. I work with buildesign.com. We're looking, as usual, for .NET developers. So if you're one, please see me if you're interested for a job switch. Thanks.
My name is Christian McDonald. I work for the Austin American Statesman, and I'm looking for a developer to join a news apps team to do cool stuff to change the world. We need to bring some really good energy into our newspaper and make cool stuff. I'm interested in seeing a lot of the MakerSquare stuff. I'm probably not going to be here the whole night, but try to catch me and I'll be around. I'll give you a card.
Hey, my name is Chris Linden, and I'm with Sailap. We're an internet marketing agency in North Austin, and we're looking for PHP developers. If you know testing for PHP, come talk to me. Also, we're looking for copywriters. So you can write good, let me know.
Hey, my name's Dave Blake. I'm actually looking for a couple little 500 type of jobs. One is PHP developer, so for PHP developer, especially with things sort of locators or geolocating, let's talk with you. Also a little bit on the WordPress side, so if you're looking for just like a little short-term gig, talk to me. Also I have a long-term gig, I can't really talk about the company, but it's in kind of the Wix Squarespace arena. It's pretty much that lead UI engineer to help build that type of product. Thank you.
My name is Aaron. I've got a small consultancy called Pulsar Webworks, PHP development, PHP developers, basically for PHP devs. We specialize in Magento development, so if you're a PHP dev and you do Magento, I'd love to chat with you. Just looking for contractors, anybody who wants to do some side projects, get in touch.
Hi, my name is Dave Maloof. I'm a manager at Rackspace User Experience, and we're looking for UI developers, specifically if you're really good with like Angular and frameworks like that. And we're also looking for user experience designers at various levels, as well as just straight up researchers, design researchers.
Hello, my name is Alex. I am the founder, co-founder, and CEO of a company called Music Meets Video, LLC. And we host cover contests for emerging artists. We're in full prototype mode, and we have a small amount of funding looking for a couple of Java, Ruby, and PHP developers. So if you want to see the prototype, come holler at me. I'll be sitting there.
Hey, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dan DiFilippi. I'm a freelance developer and co-founder of Spokefly here, but that's not what I want to talk about. I'm actually looking for partners in crypto coin mining. So if you're interested in Bitcoin, Litecoin, any of that stuff, looking for people to partner with. And I'm also looking for companies that have a space with lots of power and lots of cooling for hardware. So if you have like a data center or a back room that has extra space, come find me in the back.
Hi, I'm Caitlin with the Phoenix staff, and my clients are specifically looking for C++ and or C# in Austin for long-term permanent goals.
Hi, I'm Pat Dalber. I am an Android developer who is also branching out into Glass. I have several Glass apps that are available right now. So if you're looking for someone in one of those spaces, please talk to me. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Keith Burns. I'm with PayPal. We're looking for basically UI engineers. Specifically for my team, looking for people that have, one person that has some really good CSS type skills, another person that has probably some good like Node.js, Backbone, those types of things. So anybody that kind of wants to help us kind of revamp all of what PayPal does kind of from ground up, come talk to me.
Hi, I'm Pratik, and I'm not with Mozilla. I work for a company called Enthought. We're a Python shop, and we work with many popular open source scientific libraries, and we're looking for a senior software developer in Python, but if you don't know Python, you know any of the other major languages, it's fine. And we're also looking for a DevOps engineer to handle our backend, mostly a build engineer, so you've got to know all the backend stuff. If any of you are looking for something like this, just meet me after this event.
I'm Jeremy Boyd. I work for Mapling Fitness. We're looking for developers on the mobile side, developers on the back end, on the front end, accounting executives. We're growing a lot this year and have big plans. So if you would check me out, come talk to me. I've got cards and so.
Hi, I'm Cassandra. I teach for a nonprofit called Girl Develop It. Ceci's actually one of our chapter organizers, and we're looking for teachers and TAs for front-end web technologies and Java, Android. So if you're interested in teaching for a great organization, come talk to me.
Hi, I'm Chris Sidney. I'm one of the current cohort of MakerSquare. There's actually a number of us here, and come the end of January, we'll all probably be out there looking for work. So I'm sure at one point we'll all stand up and say, hey, but I'm out there looking for work too at the end of January. So hopefully coming JavaScript, JS frameworks, that's what I'm interested in. Thanks.
Awesome, thank you so much for sharing. So next, I'd like to call our sponsor for the night, Retail Me Not. They were the nice folks that brought us beer, so let's give it up for Retail Me Not.
Hi, I'm Andy Stolick. I'm a UI developer with Retail Me Not. We're active in online coupon space. We're hiring developers of most types and UI and visual UX designers. Come talk to us, any of us sitting over here with Generally Not shirts, and we have some special shirts that we might be convincing you about. There's also some swag in the back if you can get anything. We have a barista, so you might want to come check us out.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So next, we're ready to get started with the MakerSquare awesomeness. So let's see what y'all worked on this year. I'm very much looking forward to seeing that. So you can.
Does it work on a guest network?
No, you have to log into your public one. And it's the factory. I keep asking. Okay, so when you join, you pull up and play with whatever you choose. It's gonna be co-working.
I don't need it. That's not a big deal. But they're gonna want to get it.
Okay.
Usually people mark it down.
Yeah.
Not bad. Yeah.
So I wasn't expecting such a great introduction. Thank you, CC. That was great. Can the people from MakerSquare, either current students or alumni, just raise their hand, just kind of identify yourselves? Yeah, we have a lot of people here. For those who don't know, we run a 10-week boot camp. We bring people from all walks of life into the world of web development. We have a number of success stories. We've placed people all over town. We have people working at Return Path, Springbox, Mass Relevance. It works, and the cohorts just keep getting better and better. And they're not all just beginners. Chris over here has tons of Java experience. It's great to bring people into the world of web. Refresh reached out to us because they said that people were interested in knowing what is involved in a boot camp. People around here might kind of touch programming. I know there's a lot of very experienced developers here as well, but some people who might want to up their skills or perhaps change their career into web development, we really have some great offerings for you. But today, we're going to just showcase some of the work that our current students and alumni have done and just kind of talk about where they are, in their education and in their professional life. So we have 2 projects from current students. They're in their 8th week of 10 weeks, and we have 2 projects from alumni, and we'll have a Q&A at the end. So we'll have Ben up first, and then we'll go from there.
There's some issues with AirPlay. AirPlay's not playing nice for us tonight, so.
That's okay.
Are they connected to the private network?
Yeah,
That's
we
okay.
are.
It might just have lost its connection. It's okay.
I guess let's just try the.
You can try it. Maybe wait like a second because sometimes it loses its connection.
No, we need to be on the line. Does it keep us back?
Let's work. I can see the TV.
Co-working?
Yep. Yay!
Okay, here we go. All right, so let me give a little background of what this is about. This was at the end of week 1. We had a kind of a week 1 evaluation of what we had learned so far. And our quest was find a website that needs some help and do it for them without asking them or them asking you. So while I love Easy Tiger, and this is a mighty fine site, it is just this right here. It's just static, and there's a few places you can click, but for the most part, it is pretty dang bare. So I at least wanted to, I guess, relay the feeling that you might be expecting when you visit there, or just a little bit more about their personality from just visiting their site. And I guess to preface a little bit, my experience with CSS before CSS and HTML before coming to MakerSquare was restricted to what I taught myself. I was in marketing before and worked with Drupal sites and Silver Stripes, like a WordPress thing. So, but it was manipulating a site that was already kind of set, and this was my first foray into building a site from the ground up. So this is a little step up, but it's not full of features or anything. But like I said, I just wanted to go for a feeling. So this is obviously the header, Easy Tiger, and the feeling I wanted to relay was, it's a very, that's not working right. Live coding, I guess. Anyway, so just a very relaxed feel of things you might experience when you're visiting Easy Tiger. The atmosphere, the awesome food, and everything you should know. So, very simple site. It was at the end of the first week, like I said, we had learned some of some frameworks like Foundation and Bootstrap, and I utilized Foundation to kind of create this site here. I also kind of went a little beyond the scope and just experimented going into some JavaScript and jQuery to get the images to pop up at certain times. We later on learned these types of things, but I had kind of explored the options of what jQuery offers us. So that was my site. It was, like I said, my first kind of foray into trying to relay a feeling through a site. And before starting MakerSquare, I could have probably turned that out in a while, but it was they fed me the tools that I could then express what I was trying to relay. So that was an awesome experience. So next, without spending too much time on this, we're gonna go into a site that my group went into over the Christmas break. So we had 2 weeks between classes to stretch over the break. And we were given a quest of build a social site that people can log in to create weigh-ins and watch the progression of losing weight. One of our instructors introduced us to a Mr. Gus Chiggins, who looks suspiciously just like our instructor. And he gave us a set of criteria that he wanted his site to relay to things that he wanted it to include. So over about 5 days or 6 days, we really cranked out a site that we thought that Gus Chiggins would enjoy. All right.
I think you got the Rails server. Okay. So this is week 8 into our program.
Well, this is after 6 weeks.
Or 6 weeks.
Yes.
We're now at week 8. It's not a school for mathematics, but we are learning everything in the full stack, which is really cool. We did this over the Christmas break, like Ben said. And why don't you take us on a little test drive?
We were given instructions from the instructor. He came in and he gave us, he kind of gave us outline what we were going to do, and he kind of played the client from hell. He would give us descriptions, and then we would ask for details. He'd say, "I don't know, we'll figure it out." And so we kind of did this over the Christmas break, but there weren't any instructors around. Again, this was after week 6.
So we started with some gems like Devise, and we layered on OmniAuth, so you could log in with Facebook, and so we got to go through that whole process and learn how to pull pictures, the right pictures, things like that, kind of work through the whole authentication thing. And we integrated like Chart.js, so we could show that data with live libraries. So those are some of our things that we got to do.
All this information on this page is all driven by data Ben was really really good about creating this this effect here, where you can open up these yeehaws, because Gus Chiggins was quite a character. So we created yeehaws, and you can post comments. And Ben was responsible for making that happen. We didn't have the time to Ajaxify it, I guess you could say, but all this data here that we have on the chart, this is all backed by the real data. We have these two charts here, the green one, and then the one up, this is more of the star of the page. These are both driven by Chart.js that we kind of dove into. Up at the top of the page, in the header, in the nav bar, we have the feed so that you can see when your friends have had weigh-ins or comments since the last time that you logged in. So that was pretty fun to do. You can go onto the feed and actually look at what's happened with your friends. And we've used a div there to using the data, figure out what the percent is to their goal. So each one of those are per the weigh-in. So for instance, Ben, you might want to talk about this. You were really instrumental.
Yeah, so Tom and I were cracking at this the other day, but so you can create a for loop or create any type of loop and just spit out all these, most recent updates or whatever. But what we really wanted was these progress bars to reflect the progress they had made at the time of that weigh-in. So while it may have been obvious to another programmer, to us it was a feat to be surmounted. So after much hammering, we finally figured that out, and we were very kind of satisfied with our progress on that. So you see Tom Hanlon, his update right here was he was 65% to his goal. And as we see later on, he is 75 or 76% towards the goal when he lost 2 pounds.
A waitable success story.
A waitable success story. That's all we can hope for. I guess that another feature was the actual weigh-in page. So Gus Chiggins, he was feeling like a macho man at this point. Here's the picture he can upload here in his upload area. The comments, if he had any comments on this, like, yeah, then that would update. And let's try to go to.
One of the big parts of this site was friends, and it was new to us, creating a self-referencing table so that we could, because friends are other users, and so that was kind of different for us to wrap our minds around, and creating that relationship, because friends are users and users are friends, depending on your perspective. So that was pretty new, especially at week 5, when there weren't any instructors around, kind of hammering through this. But this is the friends page where you can go in and you can add friends. Again, we didn't have time to add Ajax, which is something we will do. But yeah, that's kind of the way that works.
And as you can see, this just creates a little card that you can see their current goal right here, their current count of friends and their current count of weigh-ins. And at the bottom here again is their progress towards their current goal.
Yeah, so we learned a lot too. Coding these things kind of on our own in a sandbox outside of class. We got all the logic right, and we come back and show our instructors, and they tear it apart. Like, you could have done, a lot of convention in Rails is you have a fat controller or skinny controller fat model. We did the opposite. And so, coming back and looking at these things after, we are still learning how to refactor these, this code and do it better, doing techniques like Casey was talking about with Ajax. So right now we look back at this and we're already embarrassed, but it was a great learning experience.
It's really great, and working, spent a lot of time on making the site responsive. That was one of the things that we didn't show. Ben was really really instrumental in helping take this this front end, because we knew what we wanted to do, but we used a series of media queries to make sure that as you shrink the site, that we change the way that the design looks, and so that when it breaks, then everything's graceful and it changes the way, we add horizontal rules to the bottom of everything to make sure it looks the same, and you still have a good experience with it. But that's it. Feel free to ask us any questions. We'll have some time. Whenever we have time after this, then feel free to catch up.
Thank you.
Well, after that, this is just gonna look silly, but I was in the first class of MakerSquare, and I graduated about 4 months ago. And so for about 4 months, I've been working at a place called Communication Services for the Deaf, which is a nonprofit for deaf services, which is awesome. We're looking for senior developers and a UX UI person, and we get free ASL class. I'm not trying to turn this into like a PSA for CSD, but it is the most awesome company that you could think of. And if you're interested in learning ASL or just going to a place with some really cool ass people, you should come and talk to me after this. But so this was a site that we worked on for our final project, and it was called Hashtag. And what it does, it's basically like a niche social media site for people who have tattoos or people who put tattoos onto other people's bodies. One thing that I was really proud of at the time, which seems so silly now, is that like you could click back and forth, and yeah, it gets darker and lighter, and gosh, me 4 months ago, it was so silly. Okay, so anyways, you can sign up with Twitter or log in with Twitter, and it takes you to this front page where you can post pictures of your tattoos. And we wanted it to be really visually focused on the tattoos. One of the things we didn't really think about and that we still struggle with is the difference between how a tattoo artist might want their tattoos to be perceived and then the quality of pictures that an individual can upload. Because the difference between, like, say this picture that is uploaded by a professional or was taken by a professional photographer versus this one, which is basically a screenshot from a website, it's really different, and it gives off a different perspective. And also this one was taken like really recently after they had it, and so it's a little still bruised and stuff, but whatever. So anyways, halfway into the project, we were thinking about how tattoo artists get their work out into the world, and a lot of them are still using Facebook or Instagram, other social media sites that have places where you can upload pictures, but it's not just a place for you to upload tattoo photographs. So we created a space for artists to create really simply a profile on our site. So in 4 basic steps, you can make your own artist profile. And I'm going to show you this and put the microphone down. So you just fill out all your information. And then from this, it makes like links to all your social media sites. Follow me on Twitter. And then you can make like a vanity URL so you can send people right to here. This isn't very interesting, sorry.
We disagree.
Whatever. And then it does its best to like sort of create this instant tattoo profile for you where you can add tattoos. And so in about like 5 minutes as a tattoo artist, you can make a custom profile that you could put on a business card or link to from the Facebook profile that you have or link to from anywhere. And so that was kind of the concept behind it. It's kind of silly in retrospect, but we liked it. But I just do want to take a second and talk to you about the people who came after me in MakerSquare who are brilliant. I have been mentoring for MakerSquare for 2 classes, And there's things that like I never really conceived that I could do in 10 weeks that these people do during week 1. And you know, you can bring a developer on board who has 5 years experience, 10 years experience, but sometimes they have an ego or there's something about them that just makes them never become that developer that you wanted them to be. And I feel like the first time I meet people, these kids who are, a lot of them are older than me or my same age, but I call them kids because they came after me in the class, but like, they are so smart and so eager to learn anything that you'll teach them. And if any of my coworkers are here, like since none of my coworkers are here, I can tell you this, but anyways, where I work, I was such an idiot when I came into this job and I didn't know anything. And everybody helped me out, and 4 months later, I am like a contributor to the team, and I can do things that 6 months ago I would have never been able to do. And so if you've been searching for that person to add to your team and you've never really been able to find them because for some reason they're just lacking, I would tell you to just like interview a couple MakerSquare people and see what they can do. And if you don't like them, you can fire them, because it's a good thing to fire someone once in a while. So that's what I think. And don't judge everybody based on this app that I made. Some of the kids in our classes are brilliant. And if you need any specific names, you can come to me, but don't tell them that I told you that. Okay? Thanks.
I may need some technical assistance. Give me just 1 second. All right. Thank you.
There we go. Well, thank you guys for having me. I am Lydia Guarino. I was also a graduate of the very first MakerSquare class back in August. And I've been working as an Ember.js developer since graduating. And today I'm going to take a little trip down memory lane and also talk about our final project for MakerSquare, which was called Bring Up. And who in the audience has kiddos at home? And what's the typical answer if you ask them what they learned in school today?
No.
I don't know. Nothing. Unlikely. So Bring Up is a service designed to help combat that conversation by empowering parents with just-in-time information about what their kids learned in class that day. So I had a partner on this project. I want to give credit to Patty Silva for all the blood, sweat, and tears that she also poured into the project. And we had a little twist on our project, which was that we had a client. So Will Madursky and Kevin McCann, who were students at Austin Center for Design, actually brought this project to MakerSquare as part of an outreach program to get MakerSquare students to help facilitate demoable applications. And Will and Kevin had been doing a ton of market research on how to impact primary school education. And what they found was that teacher-family communication improved homework completion rates by 40%.
and decreased the instances in which a teacher had to redirect attention in the class by 25% and increased overall class participation rates by 15%. So basically what they uncovered was that by opening the lines of communication between teachers and parents is this really simple way to have a huge impact on student performance. And that's where BringUp comes in. So BringUp is actually a text messaging service that parents can subscribe to get just-in-time notifications from their children's parents, children's teachers, about what they learned in class that day. So a little bit about the application. It's a Ruby on Rails application, and one of the primary design concerns that we had was that a lot of lower income families don't necessarily have a personal computer at home. They don't necessarily have a smartphone. So we wanted to make sure that the application was, the entire sign-up process and the communications were all accessible from someone with a regular old cell phone. So we used the Twilio API as an SMS service, and we also worked with a gym called Prawn for PDF generation that I'll show you in just a second. And another design concern we had was making sure that the front end was as streamlined as possible. So we wanted to minimize the number of screens that a teacher had to interact with. So we worked with Backbone.js to help consolidate some of those. All right. Oh, welcome to BringUp. To show you my animation because it makes me look fancy. So if you'd like to learn more about BringUp, this is live on the interwebs. So if you go to bringup-dev@herokuapp.com, it will have a fancier URL at some point, but that's where it lives right now. You can learn a little bit more about the guys, but for now I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into the application. So if this was the very first time that a teacher was accessing the site, they'd be prompted to add a course. It's a really simple process of just filling out 2 fields and clicking a button. I've already got some added here, so I'm going to jump into reading. And this is the primary dashboard. So I've got all the classes over on the left, and I've got some calendar navigation over on the right, and then a couple of tool items. So the very first thing that a teacher would do at the beginning of the semester is click this Generate Parent PDF button. And they would get a custom flyer with a code to sign up for the specific course and instructions on what to do. And they just send that home with their students, and their parents can walk through the process. And this is actually where we encountered our first major technical hurdle, which was that we realized that we needed to collect more than just one piece of information from the parent during the sign-up process. And we quickly realized that what that meant was we needed to keep track of where we were in the sign-up conversation, and needed to make sure that the responses were being logged in the correct place. So we actually implemented a state machine that just keeps track of a status property, and that's how we kept track of where you were in the conversation and what the answers meant when you got them back. All right. So if anyone wants to, I guess I took it down, but if anybody wants to try the sign-up process, it does work, I promise. But once a parent has filled out or has gone through the sign-up process, they show up in this parent list over here. And the teachers also have the option to add a recipient if they'd like to. But other than that, they're ready to start putting in their synopsis blurbs for the week. They can jump ahead many, many weeks in the future or go back and review what they had before. And we've got some visual cues over on the calendar here to represent that we've got some dates with blurbs that have already been input. So I'm just going to do a couple. And in real life, these would all be handled through our scheduled rate task to actually go out at the time specified by the parent when they signed up. But for now, because this is just a demo, I'm just going to hit my fancy send today's message button. And I get today's message from the teacher. So if you've got any questions about the app, I would love to talk to you after the presentation. This entire application was built in about 14 days with about 8 weeks of experience. And I came in with no development experience whatsoever. So to me, this was a huge achievement and got me placed in a really great job that helped me grow past MakerSquare as well. So thank you very much.
Can everybody who did a presentation just come up and take some Q&A? So does anybody have any questions about MakerSquare, about the specific projects that they worked on, the technologies involved, or just anything at all? Just raise your hand.
What's the application process like with it?
The application process right now is you fill out a form on the site, and we actually reach out to everybody who applies right now. Might not be in the future, but we still have a very human application process where you talk to people. We have you do the pre-work, which includes a lot of the Code Academy stuff that you guys probably all seen before. And then we have a technical interview to make sure that you have gained a certain base level of knowledge before you go on with the course.
You guys are talking about certain gems or frameworks. What all do you cover?
Do you want to talk about some of the ones used, or?
Sure. Yeah, we've been doing lessons every day. It's usually been front end in the morning or back end in the afternoon. We'll go back and forth. The first couple of weeks were CSS and HTML. We moved on to Ruby and then Ruby on Rails and JavaScript in the afternoons. And really, actually at this stage in our course, we've really been just finding the gems on our own to kind of fit a specific need. The PDF generation looked cool. We used a bunch of different ones, Figaro to hide our API keys, different ones to suit the need of the project. So some of the ones that we used on Waitable, we used chart.js, which is not necessarily a gem, but I don't remember if we installed that as a gem. I think it was just, we brought it on as for JavaScript. We use, typically on our toolbox, when we start up, we have better errors, binding of caller. So we can go ahead and if we have problems, which of course is inevitable, then we can just jump onto the page there and figure out what's going on. It's really nice to be able to pull params. We use Devise a lot, and it was really great to get a lot of experience customizing Devise because it can be challenging at first, generating your views in Devise and then going through and customizing and moving those via Form 4 to different places in the application. Especially when you have nested resources, that can be quite difficult in the beginning to conceptualize, taking information from one page and then pulling it, and then passing it back and forth. So that was interesting. What are some other gems that we use regularly?
We learned no Kokiri this afternoon, which is a fun screen scraping exercise a couple of us even got into in the first couple of weeks. So, there's pretty much, if there's something, we look first, like, what's the library that can save us work? How do we work smarter? If there's not a gem, someone in the last cohort actually built a gem. So there's all sorts of things out there, and we generally look first, how can we leverage what people have already done before we do it? So there's too many to count, but we definitely know how to find them if we don't know them.
So this isn't about gems, but I think it's important to talk about when we're talking about MakerSquare because for me, some of the most marketable skills that I got coming out was that you start working with Git and GitHub and Heroku and command line, all of that in the first several weeks of the course. So it was really easy for me to transition onto someone else's development team and be kind of plug and play, even if I wasn't quite ready to be doing all of the really super technical coding. The things that I could do worked into everyone's workflow already. And I didn't realize how beneficial that particular set of information was, but apparently that's something that employers are specifically looking for.
Down front.
So my question is for the graduates. What would you tell potential employers of MakerSquare graduates? Like, what are some lessons that you learned over your first few months?
Anyone answer this one? If you're hiring a MakerSquare person, you have hired a pre-vetted sponge. So all of us that made it through the program have proved that you can present us with a new language or a new framework or a new technology, and we're going to absorb it and pick it up and be able to apply it really quickly. this is probably like a weird thing to say in front of this community, but MakerSquare people are in general kind of like cheap labor. Like you can hire 2 MakerSquare grads for the price of 1 senior developer. And within a year, you'll have 1 or 2 of these people that you've hired like have the ability to become a senior developer or someone that has this understanding, you know, at least a mid-level developer. So at companies all over town, you know, if a MakerSquare person goes up to them, they're like, oh, well, we're looking for senior developers. Everybody wants senior developers because there's like people moving here from California and New York, and they're all very experienced. But MakerSquare people are really smart, they're very humble, and unlike someone who has 10 years experience at some flashy company wherever they came from, they will do things exactly the way that you want them to do them. So they're pretty easy to manage. So, like, if you want people who are just, like Lydia said, like a sponge that are willing to just learn stuff, that is something that maybe you don't find as often in the community that we've been building here in Austin, and is something that I think is really unique and something that you can find in, like, 40 people every 10 weeks through MakerSquare.
MakerSquare people are just really hungry also. Like, they come from other jobs and other professions, a lot of them.
Feed you.
Yeah, see, obviously. But seriously, like, you know, I came into MakerSquare from a job that I was just like, this isn't inspiring, I'm not using any of my technical skills. And now that I know how to code, I'm just like so enthusiastic about it. And like there's just so much energy at MakerSquare about code and about building stuff that is just, it's electric, it's gonna electrify your team, I think. And question over there.
What did you learn through MakerSquare that you couldn't do through an online tutorial like Treehouse?
Great question.
I think it's less anyone can pick up a book, they can go through a tutorial, they can do all these things. It's the scenario that that particular student needs to be in. So for me personally, I thrive when I am in a classroom of students of like mind who are in the certain mindset of like, okay, I'm just here to absorb absolutely anything that I get out of this. Before starting here, I tried to dive into JavaScript. I tried to get somewhere on my own, and while I knew that I could just beat my head against the wall until the information was in there, I knew that guidance and kind of a bringing up process was necessary for me personally to be the developer that I knew that was in there. The potential was there, but I just couldn't get there on my own.
I'd like to respond to that, and I think the biggest thing that sums it up. Of course, I have all the same feelings that Ben does. You know, I was nodding because he hit it really, you know, that nail square on the head, I think. But another thing is, I think that you can't learn immersion, and that's the biggest thing. And another thing is just getting the environment set up. I wanted to, you know, strike out and learn Ruby something like 2 years ago, and there were just these problems that now seem trivial. But then we're just so, they were just so hard to get around. You know, people say you can look it up on Stack Overflow, right? And we do that constantly. But you don't know to do that, and you don't know how to ask the right questions. And so what happens is when you're in an environment where there's people constantly asking questions, then you kind of learn to ask the right questions, and you learn how to learn. So I think that's the biggest thing is the immersion.
And I think too, all of us had to do the pre-work and things on Treehouse, on Code Academy, on Code School, and how to debug and how to work backwards and how to solve from just failure messages. So coming into a classroom setting and with an emphasis on pair programming, you definitely learn a more practical, and coming from work at a startup, you know, you definitely learn something that's much more realistic than the hand-holding code tutorials that you get that we all loved and we started with, but you definitely have to graduate to something that's a bit more hands-off and practical.
I've got one other thing to add. For me, the biggest benefit was actually the network that MakerSquare has built. So the fact that they encourage you to go to all of these meetups, the fact that they bring people from the community into MakerSquare to talk about their stories and to meet you in person, just kind of primes, gonna step away from the speaker, just kind of primes employers for knowing you as a person before evaluating you as a number or just some lines of code that they've viewed. And I mean, I think all of us probably know that one of the main things you're looking for when you hire an employee is whether or not you want to sit next to them every day. So for me, it was really nice to go get beers with potential employers or people that might be able to be an advocate for me in the future.
Other questions? In the back? So the first question was, what is the washout rate? And the second was, what is the placement rate? The washout rate, in the first class, I believe 4 students dropped. In the second class, I believe 2 students dropped. In this class, we don't have any drops, which is awesome. I believe 80% of our cohort, Jessica can actually tell me the exact statistics.
A little over 86%, 8 weeks out after graduation during the holidays, which is super impressive.
86% have received offers within.
Cohort 2. Yes.
What was it?
For cohort 2.
For cohort 2, yeah.
Yeah, cohort 2 graduated 8 weeks even ago. And so I'm sure all of you have looked for a job throughout the holidays. It's tricky, right? Developers are probably the highest demanded profession that I see. And we had a series of hires within the first 3 days after graduation. So everyone is very interested in different things, but they're all capable of taking on new languages. And that's one thing that I've gotten as far as feedback is concerned from hiring partners, is there's not one graduate that has taken a job that is exactly what they want at MakerSquare. Everyone is expanding at least 50% upon their newly gained development skills.
That is Jessica. She does career services, and we don't charge for that. Also, if you guys want to hire, make sure people. Another question?
What do you look for in your mentors for your program?
Senior devs around town, really willing to teach. We'd love to hear from you if you want to help mentor our students. Usually, we have mentors from, Take a Bud and all sorts of academic works, Aaron Scruggs. We just try to find magnetic people who are just really into just proliferating code education. Are we doing on time? One more question? Any other questions?
How much does it cost?
I believe a seat. So we have 2 classes. We have an immersive class and a front-end class. The front-end class is a part-time offering. That's around $3,100. That means 2 days a week for 10 weeks. It's not as much content as the immersive course. The immersive course is around $11,600, I believe, for cohort 4. So yeah, it's an investment, but there's lots of different options for people who are looking to change careers, and we think that it's one of the more cost-effective ones. All right, thank you very much, everybody.
So we're gonna go ahead and take a quick break. So if you want to grab a beer and chill out for a little bit, we'll be back in about 10-15 minutes. Cool. So it looks like most people are making their way back to their seat. So thanks again for sticking around. We really couldn't be here without your input. So seriously, thank you for sticking around and hearing more about how the year went. And I look forward to hearing what you guys want to see this year. So to kick things off with our state of refresh, Ryan here is going to talk to us a little bit about how 2013 went for us. Specifically, our biggest event of the year is usually the Austin Web Bash, also known as All Bash. And you have to pronounce it like that, like All Bash. So take it away, Ryan.
Cool. So yeah, thanks everyone for coming out and being part of, obviously, Refresh Austin and the awesome Austin community. For those of you who don't know, Refresh Austin is shepherded or run by a core group of individuals kind of behind the scenes. There are 1, 2, 7 of us? 12 of us apparently. And we all kind of fulfill different roles. And so if you're interacting with us for like sponsorship stuff, you're more than likely interacting with Robert. If you're looking to speak or working with our content, you're more than likely interacting with Ceci. If you've been here before, you know that William a lot of times actually MCs and facilitates our actual meetings. I've been working with Refresh Austin since about 2006 or 7. In kind of various capacities, and there's a lot of people in the background who actually do a lot of this stuff. And one of the things we've been doing lately for the last few years is actually using our January meeting to kind of talk about the state of Refresh Austin and where we've been and where we're going to go, and also then solicit feedback from the community and kind of level set and make sure that we're meeting the needs of our members and as we kind of grow and change. Because one of the interesting things, even for like the history of Refresh Austin, originally we started purely as a mailing list. And these days the mailing list gets maybe 1 email a week, if that. I mean, nobody uses mailing lists anymore, right? Because things eventually moved over to blog posts, and then things eventually moved over to Twitter, right? Because no one even really blogs anymore. It's like all the actual conversation happens in all these different fractured environments, and yet so it's been kind of interesting, kind of trying to remain and keep a core community whenever your central campfire, if you will, is now distributed, right? Everyone picked up the flame and ran off somewhere else in the woods. And it's like, okay, well, there's our core campfire. Now, how do we maintain our community? So a little bit about 2013. First, we had a summer party. So that last year we had a summer party in June or July.
June?
It was the month with the 5th Tuesday. I'll get to more of the 5th Tuesday stuff in a little bit. But either June or July, I think it was July actually. And that was our first summer party. So we had been doing our All Bash party for a while, which is our holiday party, which we kind of have grown and bring together the Austin web community, tech community. And this year we tried to do the same thing with a summer party, and that went off pretty well. We had about 250 attendees. We benefited Keep Austin Beautiful. We held it at the North Door, which is a venue bar downtown. And we will be planning and doing something similar to that this year as well. And speaking of our December party, this year was our 5th annual All Bash, and we had over 850 attendees, so it was our biggest yet. Raise your hands if you were there, if you were at the 2013 All Bash. Awesome. So raise your hand if you were at the 2012 All Bash. Okay, so hopefully everyone can agree that we solved all the problems that we experienced with the 2012 All Bash, and that and those problems being that we hold it each year at Buffalo Billiards, and usually we were just upstairs, and that's fine. Well, it turns out the upstairs fire code is about 500 people. So when you have around 800 people show up, you have long lines that snake through the entire building. So this year we went ahead and rented out the entire 2 stories of Buffalo Billiards. So we had plenty of room for people to move around, interact, network, One of the problems we then ran into is then how do you process all these people in a way that is not keeping them outside in the cold and rain. So one of the things we implemented this year is the check-in system where we had multiple tables to kind of quickly get people in, out of the cold, and get their wristband so that they were so they could participate in the drink tap. And I think that worked pretty well. Any feedback on that, or?
Good.
Sweet, good feedback. So in general, when we had our post-mortem, I think most things went pretty well. We will continue to iterate on these things. I like to say that we fix the problems of one year just so we have new things to complain about the next year, and I think we'll continue to do that. Some other numbers on that event. We raised $3,349 for the Corporal Assistance Network, which is a cancer charity here in Austin. And, all right. And yeah, so I mean, that's pretty much All Bash 2013. Excuse me. We actually had over 30-something participating groups, which has grown from 22 participating groups in 2012, grown from 18 participating groups, I believe, in 2011, up from just 2, our very first one, which was our Austin on Rails and Refresh Austin. So each year where we're seeing more people come out, and we're also seeing greater participation in the co-hosting groups, which is awesome for the scene in Austin. Cool. One additional thing we tried in 2013 was more beer summits. Because when we were meeting at Buffalo Billiards, we had a kind of a vibrant networking scene where people would come not necessarily just for the topics, but because of the community and the fact that they know they see their former colleagues or future colleagues or friends, in the community. And we try to facilitate that by having additional beer summits, and I think we'll kind of try to facilitate more of those where we kind of bring people out, not necessarily to an event like this where we're sitting in a very like office-like setting, but more things where we invite you out to just come out to the Ginger Man to have beers and things. One other thing we did in 2013, we had a broader range of talks and more beers, and broader range of talks on different topics. And that actually segues into what we want to talk about for 2014, is I think we want to have more dev talks again. So I think one thing that we kind of noticed and want to kind of course correct is that we spent a lot of time in 2013 talking about everything from tax law to legal to social content, social marketing, and we want to get a good mix of nice, deep developer content in there as well. So if you have something very technical that you are wanting to talk about or that you want to hear about, let us know. And again, Ceci does all of our speaker coordinating, but this is also a good point at, right now to go ahead and let us know what do you want to hear about in 2014? What kind of trends? What kind of technologies? Like Ceci mentioned at the beginning of tonight, every single thing that was mentioned when we did our State of Refresh last January, she reached out to people to find someone to cover those topics. We may not have presented on them because they haven't been scheduled yet, but every single one of those things are in the wings. So if there is something you want to see presented here at Refresh Austin, now's a good chance to let us know. We'll take it down, and then we'll find someone who can present on it, or you can offer to present, on that topic yourself. Suggestions?
Data visualization for the mobile interface.
Ooh.
Like it? Now, is that libraries or theory? Or
I guess it would be more theory.
Okay, so how to present complex data on a small screen, essentially. Like it, love it.
That's a topic that basically every major newspaper in the world is trying to figure out.
Yeah.
No, as am I.
I love it.
That's an open-ended panel discussion.
Okay. What else? What do you want to hear in 2014?
Could we just broaden it to data visualization?
Can we just broaden it just to data visualization in general? Yeah. I think there's challenges in general presenting complex data, for sure. The small screen just makes it even more so challenging.
Maybe good libraries to put them to make it easier.
AngularJS.
Okay, yeah, we haven't had the Angular talk yet.
Node. Meteor. Have we had Meteor?
We have not.
What a tooling talk.
Just general tooling? Yep.
Shell, there was mention of Git, version control, things like that. That might be a good one.
Would that be different from the tips and tricks kind of ones we do? The roundup,
Tool roundup.
Yeah, tool roundup. So we end up doing one of those every year when we have a speaker back out.
We didn't do that last year because we didn't have any speakers back out.
So if you want to hear the tool roundup this year, sign up for a speaking slot, back out. There you go. What I'm referring to is each year, or usually we always have something will happen with someone's schedule, and we'll have a issue where we may not have necessarily a topic, and we are committed to always meeting regardless of whatever happens. So we end up kind of falling back on what we call our tool roundup, which is a chance for everyone to kind of show off their tips and tricks or the tools they use to in their jobs, or any little thing, the websites they use for mock-ups, the website that they use to get a screenshot or a mock-up on devices that you can then show a client so that you can get buy-in from them. Any of these tips and tricks you can kind of share.
What about a web frameworks one? The MakerSquare people just spend a lot of time talking about Rails. You've got Django, you've got a bunch of frameworks in the PHP space.
Web frameworks roundup?
Can I second that? It'd be interesting to have a Rails versus Django versus X type thing.
We did that, I think, in 2011. We could definitely revisit it. We did Drupal versus Express Engine versus.
That was a Drupal day.
That was Drupal day.
Okay.
But that did happen.
I think even something like the drawbacks versus positives of using something like Bootstrap or Foundation or like a front-end framework to customizing your own website, because I think a lot of people get overwhelmed by things like that.
Okay. Some other comparison between the various development frameworks for the front end or back end.
Service-oriented architecture.
Service-oriented architecture. So,
What about it?
yeah, what would you like to hear about it?
How not to write shitty APIs.
That's good. So, this actually kind of brings up an interesting topic, because as we do talk about Meteor, and as we talk about APIs, and as we talk about Angular and any of these topics, one of the things, the way we kind of view Refresh Austin, how we approach our topics, is we view it as a kind of umbrella group, right? We're one of the oldest tech groups in Austin. And when we started, there was not an Austin JavaScript. That one kind of spun off from Refresh Austin. And as the Austin tech scene has grown, and we have all of these very special interest groups, as there is a Meteor Austin meetup, there is a API Austin meetup as well. And those are great things when you want to actually go to them to go in depth on something. One of the goals of Refresh Austin, though, is that you may not be interested in APIs at the level at which you're going to be one of the founding members of Austin API, but you may still be interested enough to learn something as part of a kind of a polyglot approach, right? Like, I'm not a designer, but whenever someone's talking about grid design, I listen up because I work with designers, right? And so we kind of help facilitate those conversations, help people understand the language that each of us speak. Maybe none of you guys have ever heard of service-oriented architecture in here today, or here, and now you have, right? So now you're kind of broadened to more technologies and more vocabulary and the way that people describe the problems that they're facing. And so I think we'll continue to try to do that. But I do want to remind everyone that there are so many awesome Austin meetups out there that are probably specifically laser focused on the thing that you actually care about or try and solve that one problem. And so while we'll have a talk about how not to write shitty APIs, if you want the really, really in-depth talk about how not to write shitty APIs, there's an Austin API meetup. What else?
Introduction to big data.
Okay, introduction to big data.
Performance from the front-end perspective.
Okay.
Typical JavaScript, general approach, CMS.
Yeah. My brother lives in the country, rural, and so he has satellite internet connection. And I curse front-end developers, myself included, every time I'm using his internet, because his bandwidth is capped at 5 gigs a day, and then they throttle the hell out of it. And 5 gigs isn't that much whenever a single web page, may weigh in at 50 or 100 megabytes sometimes. It's like, stop doing that. There are people out there, there's a lot of people out there that don't have the bandwidth.
Databases in general, specifically the pros and cons of using relational versus object-oriented databases or object databases in specific situations.
Okay, so like
JSON or NoSQL database.
NoSQL, CouchDB, Mongo.
When those are actually applicable, when a document database versus a relational database versus, yeah.
And add on to that also graph databases. Did you come to that as well?
Drop databases?
Graph database.
Oh, graph, okay.
Maybe talk on hardware hacking.
Nice, yeah.
Encryption and data security.
Okay, so security, encryption, how not to give all your data to the NSA, how not to become the next target, perhaps. What else?
SVG.
SVG. Now, SVG was.
How not to support Internet Explorer.
Yes.
Anything else?
Web components.
Web components, nice.
What about web components?
Discovering them?
How to build them, how to use them.
Polymer.
Well, right now they're only in Firefox, right?
Polymer.
Polymer?
Current design trends and maybe their implementations. Just walk through that.
What design trends?
Current.
Oh, okay.
Like code design.
Yeah. More like
Like patterns and practices.
how to implement
Okay.
certain things.
You're talking about visual design?
Yeah, visual design.
Oh, visual, okay.
That'd be like UI, UX patterns.
All right. That's a lot of stuff, guys. Yep, one more.
Rob is going to hit me, but I'm going non-technical on agile development.
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely.
That would maybe focus on the front end part. Would be interested to give maybe some design.
Yeah, and one of the things we always do is we definitely also bring in those talks that are non-technical. Last year for our January meetup, we had a what was the title? It was like everything you wanted to know about the law, or everything you need to know about the law.
Oh, yeah.
But we're afraid to ask, and it was essentially we had a lawyer talk to everyone. It's like, these are the things that should be keeping you up at night, but probably aren't. It's like, these are the things you need to worry about, but you probably aren't. And those things are kind of always important. And I love hearing those things that have nothing to do with the code or the design or the implementation, but just the stuff that entire other industries are focused on, right?
That's a particular topic, but I'd like to see a few panels.
Yeah, I think a number of the topics that we discussed today will definitely suit themselves to the panel format. Any of the ones where we're going to pit any frameworks against each other definitely are panels. Or how not to write a shitty API, maybe a panel.
Yep.
Cool. So just a reminder, there are only 12 months in the year, of which only 10 of those months do we actually have topics. So times 2, so 20. So yeah, we'll try to get through as many of these as we can, but I do love all of these things.
Yeah.
And want to see these kind of things being discussed, even outside of necessarily the meetings themselves. So getting back to the mailing list, if you wanted to kick off a discussion, for old time's sake, remember when we used to have these discussions on mailing lists? You can do that by going to the Refresh Austin Google group and joining there and, starting a flame war, if you will. All right. Let's see. Yeah. So one of the things we're potentially going to contemplate doing this year, we may be doing some coffee summits. So just kind of morning things, if any of you guys are morning people. There's one coffee summit that I go to a lot. That's the Austin Open
Coffee?
Yeah, Open Coffee Entrepreneur.
Yep.
Something. Mostly run by Damien Klinksells from Founder Dating and Austin on Rails and local digital nomad shepherd. But those help in terms of, one, people who are morning people kind of want to get together before work and talk shop, network, et cetera, without necessarily over beers. So we're going to look at some of those as well as additional beer summits. And we're going to continue doing things on the 5th Tuesday. And so the 5th Tuesday, there are 4 months out of every year that have 5 Tuesdays. And if you look at any of the Austin tech calendars that are floating around the internet, you know that Tuesday through Thursday are quadruple booked with tech events every single week or every single month, except for things like the 5th Tuesday, which is usually kind of open, or the 5th, one of those non-recurring weekdays. And so we are currently planning the April one right now. So we'll announce something like that on the meetup or on the Refresh Austin mailing list, and continue to do kind of fun things with those.
An example would be?
So one of the things we did this last one, actually our first one, was we kind of brought together the leaders of all the other, we put out an open call for the leaders of all the other meetups to kind of come together and kind of have a summit of organizers, if you will. And I think things we do in the future will probably be more public facing or more open in general, where we'll kind of announce them more broadly. Because we didn't only have organizers who showed up, but we were kind of talking about how we're going to plan for the All Bash, how can we more closely collaborate together. Additional ideas would be things like a barbecue or the summer party was on the 5th Tuesday. Yes, it was. And I think, and there's also one other thing we want to kind of tease. We're going legit, so which is kind of a big deal. So we've been running Refresh Austin. Any one of us. I've been involved since 2006. There actually is no such thing as Refresh Austin. It doesn't exist. Never has. So what that means, though, is as we get bigger and bigger, and when we throw parties with the size of a bar tab and rent out entire downtown bars for a night and coordinate all the sponsor dollars, it starts to get kind of tricky whenever there's no such entity as Refresh Austin, and it's really just a loose collection of individuals. So one of the things we're finally doing in 2014 is we're actually incorporating, and that will allow us to do a number of things. One, it'll allow us to negotiate better, right, for things like venues, or to more easily accept sponsor dollars and not necessarily have to play the game of, okay, sponsor, go pay vendor directly, stuff like that. It'll also allow us to potentially have budget to bring in, talks from outside of Austin, so maybe a different caliber of speaker. There's all kinds of different things we can, we may be able to do as we kind of formalize our structure and work in that way. I don't want to give out too many details because we're still kind of trying to decide what exactly we would kind of tackle once we did that, but we're kind of noodling over a lot of different things.
A big benefit if you ran a meetup is that we could potentially help you have funds or etc. There are other entities that provide this service. Like there's an entity called That Conference. They're actually a conference. And one of the things that they do is that if you're a small conference somewhere else and you don't want to incorporate, they will have the structure for you to use them so you can have your conference and you don't have to run through all of that process of going through legal and stuff like that. So I feel like that could potentially be a very good benefit to the Austin community if you were to run a meetup and you wanted to sort of really be under the umbrella of Refresh so that we could help you out, so that you don't have to deal with things like Ryan was saying, like you get a sponsor but they have to go and pay the vendor directly. So who knows? I feel like that may be something that can really positively impact other meetups in town. So I'm looking forward to that. No promises though. We're still figuring out.
Cool. And any last things? Yeah.
Quick question. Does Refresh Austin have an explicit code of conduct? And if not, would you consider implementing one, like going from the ADA initiative?
Yes.
Okay.
We do not right now, but yes.
Okay.
I would say I will emphatically answer on the part of everyone else.
Cool.
All right. Well, with that, I want to thank you all again for coming out tonight. And here's to a kick-ass 2014.